Xavier or Quinn, whichever that was. Okay, recording now. But Veronica had a question about one of the lyrics, the word "blay," that was riffing off of the baseball metaphor and bug out bag. And I think the line in question was that they'd roll a grenade into the dugout, right? So we might be able to see, that that's really just a reference to they'll try to destroy a movement. And we could maybe take it even more literal if we think about like flashbangs, right? The fact that literal grenades are being thrown at protesters right now. But if we have time, we'll take some of that stuff up in the latter part of class. And for now, get to this question. Yeah, here it is. We actually got a couple questions from Jade. What do you think of those questions, everybody? Are they too loaded? Do they need adjustment to get authentic responses? The original question was, should ICE be abolished?
I mean, I think that even ICE be abolished is a question that you could ask. That's going to get you a yes or no. It's not nuanced. There's people who are very much very concerned with the way that ICE is practicing, who don't think that we should get rid of all immigration control. They would like some border control, just not the way we've been doing it.
Okay, so maybe it was a good move to move into specifics like this.
Yeah. So it gets you in more nuanced. And if you want to be even more nuanced, you could say something like, to separate families without cause or something like that. Because somebody could say, well, what if there's abuse or whatever? See, questions are always so hard because, or without warning, yeah. So, yeah, I see what Quinn's saying, like push towards your side, but there are people who believe that, put children like that. It's the parents' fault. It's not ICE's fault. Parents need to, be set these consequences of bringing their kids into these countries. So it's actually a talking point on some people's minds that, yes, you should be doing this because we've got to punish people for illegally coming into the country. And that's not my wordage, that's their wordage.
What if we change the wording from reasonable and just to just, do you think it's unjust?
Yeah.
Graham, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I think, or maybe, I mean, there's, it's hard because part of that desire to separate was also, it was so malicious. It's like you're, I want to say something more along the lines of like, do you think people should be allowed to seek asylum in the United States? Because I feel that's really what it's about, and unfortunately, when they get to the point of being frustrated, when they get to the point of being detained, then now they're all tied up in, ICE, which is not there to help them. So somehow getting at more of like why, what really asylum should be about, and how, and are you are you down to help people, or are you down to say, doors are closed?
Mhm.
So
I like this reframe from Xavier and Quinn as well. So that maybe it could be, what is your opinion on ICE separating? But does that work for the Likert scale?
wait, say that again.
Oh, and in the chat, Xavier and Quinn, or one of them has written, "What is your opinion on ICE's current actions?" Which I think needs more specificity. But then I'm also wondering if the "What is your opinion" will not work with the Likert scale.
Well, you could, I guess, at that point, you could hybridize those two and say, to what do you, how much do you agree with current ICE practices or something? Or how much do you believe ICE is doing a good job, a good job or something like that? Because that would be also telling. And you don't have to get somebody to even disclose what they think that job is.
Mm. So we don't want to get specific about family separation or children in detention camps.
Well, if that's what Jade is interested in more than anything else, I mean,
Well, Jade is here now, so I feel like she can tell us what she wants to get from this question.
Um, it's because I know a lot of people that are on the fence about it, and usually they don't really look into more than just, oh, they're for detaining. They don't look at how they detain people or how they're treating people once they're there, or what's happening, like especially with the child trafficking. Yeah, so
So, like, do you think that some of these reframes are sufficient, right? Like, what is your opinion on ICE's current actions? Or do you think ICE is doing a good job? Does that leave things too vague?
um those are vague enough so that way someone could have an unbiased opinion once they like answer it.
Okay. So it would reveal if they say they're doing a good job that they're either not aware, right, of the family separations and child detention, or they're totally callous to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. So let's.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I feel like at the beginning of like this ice thing, like it might have started as, oh, let's just, control immigration, or it would have been, oh, well, I see too many like immigrants, so let's kick them out, you know. And so I feel like the way immigration started is like two ways. There might have been like, oh, I see too many immigrants, maybe we should, control, or it's, oh, I see too many, like let's kind of get rid of some. And then as like United States saw that there was an immigration control, they started saying, I mean, as oh my god, since there was a lot of immigration coming to the United States, they probably saw this as a way to talk bad about it. And so, because it might have started good or it might have started bad, and then it just like further like got bigger and bigger. And so then more people started talking bad about it. And so then like once they like, like I mean bad by like, like get all these immigrants out, blah blah blah, that's why we should put them in, we should take them back, and we should put them in, those immigration camps, I would say, or whatever they're called, and just keep doing that. And then now it's like a big kind of thing, and like, we should kick them out more, but then but then like they probably saw that there's a lot now, and so now they're saying, well, oh, you know, they're dirty, that's why we're kicking them out. I'm okay, I'm trying to say something, but like every time I say something it just doesn't come out as what I'm saying. But I
I,
feel like just
I'm not tracking it's how it's been good. That's what I'm having.
it's never been good. It's only been good for people who are like getting money out of this, because um because it might have, I don't know, like I don't know how ice was even made. Like maybe I should do some research about it, but I feel like I, f- I feel like people just think of it as like, because I have a friend who like supports something, and like, you know, kids going in camps, and sometimes I just wonder like how she can support that. And then like, and I always want to bring it up but I just can't because I feel like I'm gonna ruin like the relationship. But like, you know, just I feel like I'm rambling off now, but I think ice is trash. Okay, I feel like if they try to
You need
um
money.
I feel like if they just try to move different, like do different types of um because you know there's immigrants who want to come and like start not support their families and want to make a better life, and then there's other immigrants who, like, you know, don't do the best for others. But I feel like they should like separate that, you know, and not separate the children. Like if maybe an immigrant did something criminal, then you know we should take that into consideration and like try to figure out what's wrong with them instead of like, you know, sending them to jail. Or like
I see.
maybe they have some kind of medical thing, and or they might have gone like, I don't know. Okay, I'm rambling off now, but I think ice is trash. We should abolish it and just try a new system. Try a new system that works for other people. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Sure. And it sounds like really what you were trying to get at is we shouldn't be doling out collective punishment, right? That like not every immigrant should be punished just because, I mean, it's the same with the like argument they make about, right? Um, well, there are not all cops are bad. Well, right, we could make the exact same argument about immigrants. Not all immigrants are bad. In fact, most aren't. And so you're just talking about dealing with situations on a case by case basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, you know how there's some like immigrants who do get in trouble, and then like they like put them in with other people that are just like trying to get out or just came, or like I don't like they should just separate that. Like if like there's people who have like caused trouble, then just put them somewhere else so then they can deal with the problem of like how they should deal with the person who's in trouble, and then, you know, help the family who needs like help. Like I don't know. I feel dumb talking right now, but yeah, I don't know.
I see what you're saying, but I also think, that already happens. Um, and part of the trick here is the fear mongering that says if we have too lax borders, we're going to be allowing criminals and rapists and so on and so forth, right, past the border, which is a way of stereotyping all immigrants. And you're just trying to say, it sounds like, well, people who've done bad things should be dealt with accordingly, but the rest of us shouldn't suffer, right? Or other people shouldn't have to suffer for that.
Do we want to kind of focus more back on helping students identify their research question?
I was just reading Lonnie's post in the chat. I mean, yeah, we got a little bit sidetracked because that was the content of this question, but I think, Christina needed to say something there. That's okay. And I totally agree with what Lonnie has said as well, just in terms of fear being really used to control people, right? To control people's perceptions, to control their predispositions, and to get them to consent to truly awful things, actually. Christina, what are you thinking for your question or questions? And Graham, maybe you could start compiling the survey as well.
I'll tell you what, yeah, if you, as we go through this, if when these questions are fully developed, if you just want to start dropping them in the chat, and then I'll just pull them off of that.
Yep, I'm gonna repost these two and the one that said, should people be allowed to seek refuge or seek asylum? There we go. And then Quinn, I think you probably saw in the email that you had posted your original question instead of the workshopped version. So I did my best to remember the workshop.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I
Nope.
couldn't remember exactly what the workshop question was, so I was like, if I just put in the original, will that work?
Right. So then that would mean after the ones that I emailed out, which I can grab those from my email and pop those into the chat real quick, that we're just missing questions from Christina and Courtney. You never posted yours or emailed it to me. Are you still kicked out of Canvas?
I'll have to email it to you.
Okay. Could you do that real quick right now, just so that I can get that popped in the chat too, and we can compile this survey? I actually just got one from Abby. More diverse history. I think that's actually a really cool question. And then the other ones right here. Or maybe could you just remind me of yours real quick? Because I remember you had a good one. Ooh. Should schools provide free meals? That wasn't even the original one either. Didn't you have another one too? No? Okay. Yeah. I can't remember if we had workshopped that last class. It feels unfamiliar. But didn't you, I felt like you had another question that day as well. That's a good one. We can use that one as is actually with the Likert scale. But I'm just trying to.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You're talking about Courtney's question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I actually saved the chat in case we needed the questions from last time. And no, Courtney, that was Courtney's original question.
Okay, so it's just a failure of my memory. I really appreciate that, Lonnie. Okay, and so now we just need one from Christina, who said she's still thinking, and we will need to get Christina and Jade onto ArcGIS and Survey 123 as well.
Yeah, and Quinn and Xavier, I'm gonna. It'd be nice to get some plants from you because I don't think I got anything from your. You're the only people I think who weren't there.
What? For what?
Oh, the day we collected our plants in the surrounding area. I just need to make sure that some of the plants we have listed here you have, so when we actually go out and have you collect the data, this works for you. Unless there's so maybe at the end of class or something, I can just have a breakout room with you two or something, just to get this last bit of information.
Sure.
So yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's all on my end.
Okay. How long did it take to generate the survey too? I think you said it was just like.
I'm working on it as we speak, so I can show you guys if you want. It's a little tricky, and I'm probably I'm envisioning today. The main thing I want to make sure we do today is get it. Has actually, more importantly, has everyone gotten a invite email from ArcGIS? Or is there, because I sent basically yesterday, I got everybody's evergreen emails submitted to Mike Ruth so that we could get these licenses. Have people gotten, I don't know where he's at in the process of getting us all in. Have people gotten any email that says, that would have gone to your evergreen email?
No, it looks like.
No? Okay. Okay. Well, but first question is your evergreen, do you guys have access to your evergreen email, or is it just out there for Canvas? How have you guys, or do you have it forwarded to your Gmail, which would be better? We have not gotten an email. Do you know about this?
Okay, so only for Canvas. I do not use my evergreen email, but we will need folks to be able to log into their evergreen email, right, in order to accept that invite.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, there you go. And if you don't know your email, I have your emails all in a sheet, so I can share you your email. But I don't, so because this license is affiliated with the college, that's why we can use it, because normally it would be a cost. So that's why we got to use, it has to go through your evergreen email. Now, if you have it set up to forward your evergreen email to your personal Gmail, that makes life a lot easier, because like I never go logging into my webmail because it just all goes to my Gmail. So, but when we get that invite, it's going to prompt you to set up an account. And the most important thing is that when you set up that account, you have a recovery question for your password, because if you lose that password, it is going to be very difficult for us to get you back in. So that's just one thing I want to stress when you get in there and can hopefully see. And so Amra actually had a license set up for you too. So maybe you could, because you have a temporary evergreen email too. So if you could maybe help answer some of these questions if and navigate this, because I'm in a different boat as I'm a student.
Is this are the free accounts we got them signed up for workable, or do we need to use these ones through the school?
They're so here's the thing. They are the one that we have, it is a platform you can use, and it does have some of the capabilities, but I learned by calling Esri and talking to them and trying to figure out what happened to Xavier's account, that they do not run Survey 123. They run everything but. So, so that's why I had to figure out that we needed this new license. But the good thing about this new license is you guys will have it for a long time and can continue to use it. But the other thing is that it is online, so we can use your Chromebooks to do this, and is the good news because it's online, associate itself with Excel or Google. So that's the good news, and it'll just make things a lot easier. So
so I'm in webmail now, and it looks as though I also have not received an invite yet.
Okay. Well, in that case, yeah, I'm going to, I proctored all this yesterday, so I'm going to make sure Mike, I'm going to text him right now and make sure that he can move on that.
Okay.
He's the administrator.
Okay, so it sounds then like we should make sure to workshop Christina's question so that the survey can get compiled, and you'll need to get some plant data from Xavier and Quinn. And it seems like we've got to wait until everybody's invite drops. It seems like it's going to be crucial that we get Courtney back into my Evergreen, which do we have access to Courtney's temporary A number, Lonnie and Elizabeth? Working on
Should be on Canvas, yeah.
Courtney says she's working on it right now. Okay. Yeah, because the sooner we can get you back in on that, the more assured we'll be that you'll be able to access that invite, because it sounds like in terms of our schedule, what it's going to have to be is that like we get the final questions workshop today and get those added to the survey, get the plant data added to the survey, and then between homework session and the first part of next class, we got to make sure everybody, once again, is in ArcGIS, can access the survey, right? We'll have it hopefully up there by Friday's class, the same attainable gram.
I'm actually going to try and go a step further and have it up I'm hoping to have it all done today.
Okay.
We can actually start so that you can start collecting data. The other thing I was going to suggest was that because I'm going to show up to your homework session on tomorrow, that's when I was actually going to break out with students to make sure that's ready to go. So hopefully by Thursday's homework session, we'll be able to get you guys launched, and then we can, between that Thursday night, you can start during the homework session or after, and then Friday, hopefully then we can just, do it with you if you have anything, or actually start to pull the data down. So that's kind of how I'm envisioning dealing with the time.
So Courtney, my love, have you recovered your password? Have you gone to the password recovery that we showed you about last time?
I'm working on that right now. I'm trying to recover my password.
Okay. All right, let us know how that goes, because I think that should work. And then once you have that recovered, if you don't know
once I have my password, I'll be able to get into Canvas again.
Yeah.
And use my Evergreen email.
Yeah. Okay. Just check it on that one. Make sure you had the link and stuff. Okay.
Okay. So what I'm thinking then is we will do our best to make sure we can get everybody on the fuller version of ArcGIS that'll give us the survey 1, 2, 3 access. Thursday night, if there are some students not there, we might have to do a little bit of that Friday, but hopefully it's a pretty good turnout, and hopefully you all can begin conducting the survey. But I suppose it's going to be short and simple enough that we could also have you conduct it on at least like a couple people at home at the start of class on Friday in a worst case scenario. But it would be nice for the second part of that session to actually get you thinking about results of the data and how to sort of interpret it, and to get you thinking about, you know, what your poster might look like, what data you might want to pull. So Christina, let me check in with you. Any ideas yet for your question?
Yeah, I turned it in.
Oh, you turned it in?
Yeah.
All right, let me grab it real quick then. Fresh. Okay, so we have fixing 8th grade history. My teacher told me the KKK only scared Black people. Talk about how LGBTQ are still fighting for their rights, that history. Talk about why people or immigrants move to the US. Okay, so we got to workshop this and workshop one of these 3 strains at least into a workable survey question. What if it was, do you feel K through 12 history adequately covers and then we can kind of fill in the blanks here actually with say adequately covers the actions of the Ku Klux Klan. And then we can kind of the struggle of LGBTQ we can make it extra inclusive QIA. People in the United States. What if I said immigration laws, Christina, rather than just immigration? Like that. Do you feel like those reframes get at the type of information you're looking to get in this survey? Christina? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it feels now as though we've got the questions and we got to get the survey and get everybody on ArcGIS. And then from there, we can start talking about like how to translate data and what the written sections of your poster should look like. And we'll be in pretty good shape, actually. It seems though like we got to get into a good place on Friday so that you can like be working on this actively over the weekend. So I'm just going to call it out right now and say probably class is going to go a little bit late on Friday. Is that okay with everybody? Give me an emoji thumbs up if your screen is off. Thanks, Jade. Okay, cool. Yeah, a couple people are like, who've been caught up this whole time are like, grumble. But I trust those two, so it's okay. Okay, now I guess we can actually shift gears. Am I missing anything, Graham? We could probably talk about the remaining pieces now.
Yeah, I'm ready. I think we're good.
Okay. So the one that we got most responses for, because it was due last Sunday, was an open letter to everyone who thinks feminism is synonymous with man-hating. Maybe since we're shifting into discussion mode, those of us who can should turn our screens on now. There's Xavier, Jade, Christina. Allie will be right back, but and Karina and Veronica, you got, oh, there's Veronica. And there's Karina. Okay, awesome. And I'll just tell Allie to turn her screen on when she gets back. All right, so let's start out with sort of the main message in that piece by asking, like, how many of you have had experiences with people who think feminism is just man-hating, or how many of you have maybe even thought like that before? Elizabeth's hand came up, Christina, Veronica. Oh, both Xavier and Quinn. So let's share out a little bit on that, like where that perception came from, where you heard it, I think would be an important thing to unpack. Yep.
Like, there's this massive, I guess it's like the internet mostly, because there's all these videos of people who are self-proclaimed feminists who just kind of go around screaming at people, and that's not the good perception of feminism that should be presented, but because they're the loudest, they're the ones who kind of break through the most. So that's generally where at least in my experience, that's where it comes from.
And are those people recording themselves or getting caught on camera? What type of situation is that?
Sometimes they're recording themselves, but a lot of the times they're actually just getting caught on camera for yelling at like a bus driver or a subway car driver. There was one where she was yelling at a military vet because he was trying to use his discount at Wendy's. So.
Okay, but I think Elizabeth's point is a good.
What does that have to do with feminism? Like, that's just a woman yelling at a guy trying to use his discount at Wendy's.
Because she was making, like, she was a self-proclaimed feminist, like she mentioned it, and she was making it about how he's a male, flexing his male privilege.
And wanting the military discount. So,
I don't know.
I think we've got to really hone in on the fact, though, that like a lot of justified anger on the part of women gets written off as shrill or irrational or unfounded. And I think, just speaking as a male here, right, I think sometimes we have to frustrate women to such a degree, right, that there's almost nothing else that they can do in order for us to hear it. And that often the tendency is to peg them as unreasonable just because of the tone, right? Which is called tone policing. Like saying, I guess I'm just trying to get at, like, there are unreasonable people out there. Let's not, pretend that that's not the case. And I'm not trying to say that every person on YouTube, right, is a shining example of feminism. But I am trying to point out that nonetheless, this is a very common trope of dismissing the concerns of women, right? Too angry, too loud.
Oftentimes women aren't acknowledged for their military service either. They're assumed, oh, your husband served. I got a friend who's prior service, and everyone wishes her ex-husband happy Veterans Day, but they all forget to do the same thing to her. And she served. She got a medical discharge during service. So many times, or there's a common complaint that women in the service are often assumed that they must be a wife if they're on base, instead of actually being a service member themselves. There's a lot of it there to unpack in every kind of aspect if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, certainly you see cases as well when it comes to like anti-racism and stuff, when somebody proclaims themselves an anti-racist and like uses that to get into something irrelevant. We can see how that sort of works. But at the same time, I feel like there's an overwhelming cultural tendency to dismiss all women's problems in that way, in the same way that we tend to dismiss women of color and men of color as playing the race card. Graham.
Yeah, and I just want to say, with what happened in New Jersey, I think ties directly into this conversation, where that, we have a person who murdered or was maybe attempting to murder a federal judge because of her success and because of, what she had done in the legal field. So like that is, I think, a clear example of where this can go. I mean, it's an example of why it exists, So, and really, I mean, I think for men, at least for me, the way I think about being a feminist is, do I support, people for what they want to do? Do I support, as opposed to someone like this murderer that doesn't support people, and that's why he feels, in fact, he obviously felt being by help by the idea of helping women, which I think is just unbelievable. So but this, I think, gets at a subculture that's out there that is stems off of the marginalizing.
Cut out a little bit there.
I think that what happened in New Jersey is really a bubbling up of what dismissing, women's voices can do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's been maybe up to a decade since we've seen the emergence of these so-called like men's rights groups in mass like this. Meninists, they sometimes call themselves. And we see actually that there's a linkage between that and the white nationalist groups, and that groups such as the Proud Boys, right, are not only white nationalists, but, quote, proud male chauvinists. You all know what the word chauvinism means. People saying no? Give you a dictionary definition. Excessive or prejudiced support for one's own cause, group, or sex. What is a male chauvinist? A male who patronizes, disparages, or otherwise denigrates females in the belief that they are inferior to males and thus deserving of less than equal treatment or benefits. So, okay. So what we're dealing with actually is a group of people who think that the old ways were inherently the right ways, if that makes sense. Let's get some of the other folks who raised their hand to share, you know, either their experiences with people who've had this mentality that feminism is man-hating, or who've believed it themselves at one point, and sort of where that came from. So Quinn and Elizabeth have shared. I saw Christina's hand. I saw Veronica's hand.
Can you restate the question? I mean, like, say the question again.
So I had originally asked, like, how many of you have known people who believe that feminism is just man-hating, or have even believed that yourself? And if you believe that yourself, where did that perception come from?
Okay, so like, my younger brother and younger nephew, they always were like, oh, like you're a feminist, or like feminine, like women who like do stuff that men don't like is like a feminist. And they would like be like, oh, you're such a feminist, like stop, like just go away or something. And I'd be like teasing them or talking about like, you know, like girl stuff, and like they'd be like, oh, like why do girls do that, or like, and all I'm trying to say is like they like use the word you're a feminist as like a as a, how do you say it, like it's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Like it's a negative
like
thing.
they only see like the bad things about it, and so they just like call me that. They don't do that. Yeah, they used to do that, but they don't do that anymore because I'm older, so I can take them if I want to. Anyways, here you go. So, and I've also had like oh, also had a lot of like people at school, like I overhear them, and like they're like saying that feminists are bad, and like they only like yell at people, or they'll like start saying like you're bad, and that, you know, it's all about women, but it's not. Like if you actually like do your research, or and men can be feminists too. Like I I just like I think it was like 2 months ago that I realized men can be feminists too. I mean, can be part of, you know, the a group, and so yeah, that's it. They just use it as, okay, I'm gonna stop
I
talking.
got it. They used it as a negative designation, right? As a way actually to write you off, which is kind of ironic, actually. Um, hmm.
It's also, you know, it's a surprising behavior that you find, I think we're also seeing with the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Where it's like, just the second somebody needs to speak up about a specific problem, it's the first thing that happens is somebody's going to try and dismiss, or, you know, in the case of what you were saying, Christine, actually say you are the problem, you know, but dismissing the problem or saying all lives matter is one way of, you know, of yeah, saying there's a problem when there's the problem is the problem. So
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, I'm teaching right now. So, how many of you have heard the term feminazi before? Or is that outdated now? Because what I'm trying to get at actually is that slamming feminism has a history, right? And that probably the first permutation of that, um, the first popularized idea that feminism was synonymous with man-hating came from the right-wing talk radio host Rush Limbaugh, who is also, a vile racist, to speak frankly, and was awarded the Medal of Freedom posthumously. Veronica, I saw your hand earlier. You want to share some experiences?
For me, it's just I have like a family member who kind of just didn't really know what the word meant, I guess. They kind of just thought it was what you said, like man hating. And so you kind of have to explain to them that it's not what it means. They just want equality. That's it. I don't know.
Right. Well, and I think much like with racism, there's a tendency to just try to super over reduce the issue, right? And to make it about things like, oh, do women make the same amount of money as men or have the same job opportunities? When we think honestly about the culture, it goes so much deeper than that, right? It's so much more problematic than that in the way that we consistently objectify women and treat them as less than human, right? To the extent that that's built in as an assumption of the culture writ large, even when we're trying to consciously navigate around it, you see like problematic behavior crop up, right? Where, as I was saying earlier, the concerns of women are outright dismissed because we live in a culture in which misogyny and patriarchy are still very much the norm, are still very much normalized, right? And so there is an extent to which I think a lot of men have blinders on and can't even understand, right, the full extent of the disequilibrium. I think as well that there is this perception, and this is why I selected the piece, that feminism only benefits women. So maybe let's talk about that part of the reading real quick. To what extent do men benefit from feminism?
Less toxic masculinity.
Certainly. What else? Let's unpack it.
Human decency.
Yeah. Like, hey, you can be a better person, right? Like, you can have empathy for other people.
I would say if they truly believed in the Constitution where they said that all men are created equal, men in the sense of humanity, they would actually be living up to those standards.
Mm-hmm. And then there are the ways as well in which, as part of toxic masculinity, men think that they can't have emotions, right? That it's not manly, quote unquote, to have an emotional reaction or to cry. Now Xavier looks a little like, you have a response? No. I mean, have you ever had experience with that dynamic though, Xavier or Quinn? What you're saying?
We're muted, boys.
You're muted. Let me unmute you.
Shh.
Yes. No. You don't want to be unmuted. And stop picking on us. Okay. I know certainly in my childhood that was a thing, right? Where there was a massive amount of peer pressure to not show one's emotions. And I think there's a good bit of research that says repressing one's emotions can be very destructive in the overall scheme of things as well. But what are some other ways? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, when you believe in feminism, that, hey, women are human people too, with just as much rights and everything as everybody else, you start to break down the idea of choice. Some women may not choose to be mothers, or may not choose to stay home, or may not choose to be the caregiver role. And when you give women that freedom to choose not to, you also expand and give men more freedom to choose to do so. There are many fields that men are ostracized from, including nursing and teaching are two really big ones where men are not really accepted. My friend, and we are educated feminist women, she was a few years ago trying to be a foster mom, and she had a baby placed in her care, and she just couldn't do it. She just could not. She realized within like 2 weeks she could not do this. So she called them up, and they sent another foster parent to come get him. And it was a single guy. And our thoughts were, oh, he must either be gay or he must be a pedophile. And then we quickly corrected our thoughts, but that was our instinctive thoughts, is why is a single man adopting a baby? Now, you don't think the same thing about a single woman adopting a baby. You think, oh, she hasn't found anyone and she wants to be a mom. Then that's why she's adopting a baby. But we can't afford men the exact same freedom of thought that, hey, he hasn't found anyone he wants to procreate with, and he hasn't found a life partner, and he wants to have a baby, and he wants to be a daddy. But somehow that's not the same freedom. Even men volunteering in classrooms. Heck, I tried to have a teenage boy babysit for me. My mother freaked out because my infant daughter, if he had to change her diaper, he might be curious or something. What?
Yeah.
What? We never think that about girls babysitting little baby boys. There's some churches that won't even allow boys to work in the nursery or volunteer in the nursery.
That's such a powerful example, Elizabeth. It really drives home that last line of the piece where it says, you know, our liberation is yours too. I want to read just a short excerpt from it, which I think really gets at the crux of what I'm trying to pull out of this discussion. We find ourselves having to fight men simply because they don't understand how deeply patriarchy has affected us. When we argue with you over our concerns for safety, emotional callousness that we see in some men, our right to choose, your tarnished sense of humor replete with sexist jokes, and your disregard for women's problems, we're not fighting you. We're fighting what patriarchy has done to us, to all of us. Look at it. Look at how it has made you unaware of what half of the population goes through. Look how it has deprived you of the freedom to be vulnerable. Look how it has made the female body, the same body that excites you, alien. Look how it has suppressed you, too. What patriarchy has elevated in us, our emotional intelligence, it has suppressed in you. What it has elevated in you, your autonomy, it has suppressed in us. See what we're saying? Who has some gut reactions to that, particularly folks who didn't post in the forum yet? Oh, I will just start calling names if I don't see volunteers too. So how about Jade and then Quinn? Jade, what's your gut reaction to that excerpt?
But let's get this again. I couldn't hear super well.
Okay, I was just asking, as I read that part aloud, that excerpt from the piece, what folks think of that, what your gut reaction to that is. And then nobody was responding, so I just started picking on people who hadn't posted a response yet.
Was it an excerpt we were supposed to read?
But I read it aloud, so let me just pop it into the chat real quick. And I'll give you a second because maybe you couldn't hear me when I was reading it. Quinn, what do you think? Xavier posted a response already, so he's off the hook.
Okay, so it's kind of awkward. I'm gonna be real. Me and my brother were just talking about this. How we're the only two dudes, like students in the program, and it kind of puts us in this weird, unique position here, especially talking about this. But I agree with everything in it, because I mean, like, men, or at least male culture, is so desensitized to everything around us. Because we have this idea, especially like as a kid, I had this idea that like, if you show concern in any way that's not like in this weird manly pedestal, it's seen as like you're gay or you're feminine and that's not good or something like that. So it makes it really difficult, especially like as a teenager, to kind of empathize and not feel awkward and like sort of out of place in groups. Like my girlfriend's like a very feministic, and I'm totally okay that I'm super supportive. But if I ever go to like one of her rallies, or if I ever go to like one of her meetings, I feel super out of place, like I should not be there at all. And it's just because like there's this sort of culture that's been taught to us that that's super gay, and gay is bad apparently. You know, there's this whole feeling that like being anything but the model straight white guy is just absolutely awful. So
Thank you. A bunch of people have popped in and said they can't see Xavier's post on Canvas, which is odd.
I didn't realize this was on Canvas. My bad.
Okay.
But I can't see it on Canvas necessarily.
Okay. It's in the forum for a letter to everybody who thinks that feminism is synonymous with man hating. So I was about to say, I don't think there's an option to post non-publicly. Yeah, I could see how it would feel a little bit awkward being the only two males in the program. And yet at the same time, you know, it's okay. Nobody's accusing you of being like bad people. Feeling being out of place, proof that you know there is an issue. You're working towards the common goal that is being pursued. Well put, Lonnie. Yeah, that sense of tension. It's like, oh, right, because I think there is a sense of it, whereas even if you have the best of intentions, just like with racism, you can't escape the cultural programming, right? Like you can't escape the culture that you're immersed in, and you can't even begin to unlearn it until you begin making it conscious. We have a little over 15 minutes left for this session, and I'm wondering, did anybody get a chance to listen to any of those 4 songs that I posted in Canvas other than Veronica and Karina? No. Would you like me to pause the recording and play at least one of them? Yeah? Okay. So let me get it queued up real quick. Yeah, let's do Borders and see where we're at after that, since we were talking about Ice earlier. And then if we have time, I'd like to do the song Just as well, because I did at least get to read the best part from Walking in the Snow during our last session. YouTube.
Don't forget to pause the recording.
I won't. I'm gonna have to start over when I get there. I'm gonna be porting. Okay, so let's go around and have each person hone in on like one moment in that video that really resonated with you, like one image or one lyric in that video that resonated with you. Maybe we could start with Christina.
I feel like when she said something about like fuck the system, because they've been relying on this bad system that they built, and it's like you guys think that, but like what about all of us? Like get rid of it because it's bad, and then just make a new one or something. Like change the system, get rid of it. I just thought that's something cool.
Sure. It even strikes me that there's a connection to when she's talking about representing peeps. They won't play us on the FM, right? In that, because she's tackling an issue that concerns underrepresented folks, probably the mainstream isn't going to want to represent, right, that song. And yet, on YouTube, this now has 22,071,061 views. Let's maybe go to Veronica next.
I like how like all the guys, including her, they were all like crossing, like bodies of water, or crossing fences, deserts. So I really liked what that represented.
I was going to say no problem to Elizabeth, but she's got. Yeah, I thought the visuals on this, right, were by far the most powerful part. For me, there's a sense in which the song wouldn't even land if not for the visual element. Like there's a way in which, out of context, being like, "Your privilege, what's up with that?" would probably come across as cheesy or something, but when paired with these images of people piled onto those boats in particular, right? And then like hanging onto the fence, it's really like driving this point home that there is an overall like lack of empathy or humanity at stake in these issues.
Yeah, I love the very symbolic like space blanket when they hit the shore, like as if that's what you get, when you are, yeah.
Right. Well, and certainly we see that in the sense that that's literally right with those with the children the camps are sleeping with right now. Repetition of certain lyrics really showed the importance of the message she's trying to relay. Because of the repetition, you keep playing those words over and over again in mind. I like the use at the very beginning of weedom versus freedom, that wordplay as well, which is really, I think, signaling the collective versus the individual. There's a way in which particularly American perceptions of freedom are very individualistic ideas of freedom, right? Which we kind of see with this whole pandemic thing, people wanting to be free to not wear masks, as though that's such an inconvenience, right? Courtney, what did you think? Oh, mouthful.
I couldn't really understand most of the words she was saying, kind of all blurred.
Okay, it takes
but
multiple listens.
Yeah, but the images, what got me, I guess, was all of the people in the camps, what looked like a prison almost.
Mm-hmm. And so that was actually literally just the old version of the border wall when it was mostly fence.
Oh.
But yeah, it's a powerful image. Maybe we could go to Jade next.
Xavier or Quinn also wrote something in the chat.
Oh, said we need a new, Reedham saying we need a new definition. Yeah, right after the Weedham bit. And then, which one was that, Xavier or Quinn? Was that you, Xavier? Okay. So what are your thoughts, Jade? I'll go to Quinn next.
So like on the boat, when she said your beliefs and values, how some people in their beliefs and values think that them being carted off in those boats crowded together with barely anywhere to like sleep is okay. Like that's, they're not given options, like suitable options, like they're not given humanist I can't even say the word. They're not given humane options. They're given, oh well, you get to run across the desert, or you get to ride on a dirty boat, or you get to be put down because you have a harder time getting your car. Like there are people that try to get in this country, but people still kick them and beat them until it's even more impossible than it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, it brings to mind maybe one of the most powerful things that I read as a student. It was a piece about citizenship and how in the modern world, the only guarantor, this is after the International Declaration of Human Rights, the only modern guarantor of anyone's human rights are citizenship rights. And not everybody is granted birthright citizenship. Not every country works that way. And so, in fact, there are millions of people who have no guarantee of human rights, no guarantee of basic dignity, even, let alone, right, the means of survival. So in these cases, it does become absolutely necessary to seek refuge, to seek asylum, right? In the case of my own family, actually, I wouldn't be around if my father wasn't able to flee from Iraq. My granddad was assassinated, you all, when my dad was 14 years old. He had to flee the country at that age, which is younger than most of you, right? And fend for himself at that point. Let's get Karina and then, or sorry, it was Quinn next. I thought he was going to get off the hook.
I also just wanted to say too, you know, where MIA is from, Sri Lanka has a very checkered past on citizenship too, including the actually. So little background story on Sri Lanka. The British colonized India and grew tea in southern India in a region called the Tamil Nadu. And that region had a whole different ethnic group than Sri Lanka. And then when the British wanted to colonize Sri Lanka, they took all the Tamils from India and brought them to Sri Lanka to work the tea fields because they already, you know, had taught them how to do that. Then when they left the country with, you know, a whole population, 1 million Tamils, who then the Sinhalese government or the native Sri Lankan government decided to not give them any citizenship and not give them the Tamil language on signs, not teach it. Basically just like say, well, you're in our country, but we're not going to help, you know, you have nothing. As also a retaliation to the fact that the British empowered the Tamils more because they gave them jobs and all these skills. And so it was, yeah, very, very, and still is making And that's why people are fleeing Sri Lanka still to this day. You know.
Thank you. Now let's have Quinn jump in, then Karina, then Ali.
Okay, so the part that like really stuck with me was when they were all climbing the fence, and you could kind of see like where they were trying to get out. And it was like this weird. I think the fence like symbolized the system and the oppression that it provides. And they were all trying to climb it to get out. So.
Or maybe more accurately, to get in. Karina.
Oh, I think the lyrics, like if the music video wasn't there, I don't think the lyrics, well, some part of the lyrics would make sense and then some parts wouldn't. Well, I mean, just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you there, to where the images are what really drive home the meaning for me.
Yeah.
And so it's almost hard to imagine it without the context of the video, although I do think that you can analyze the lyrics independently and still get a good bit of meaning from them. But certainly the video really helps cement them. And Ali? Ali, you still with us?
Yeah, sorry. I liked the part where they were all on the fence and like had spelled out the letter, or not the letter, the word life.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
that, it means a lot.
Yeah, it's, I think, really powerful stuff. We can think about.
I mean, because they want to get in to have a better life, but at the same time, they can't sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And I was actually just thinking about how in the recent protests and uprisings that we've been seeing, how a sticking point, right, is that some people are much more concerned about the safety of property than the safety of human beings' lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me show you one thing real quick. Oops. Actually, change the tab real quick. There it is. Share. So if you all want, oops, Christina is injured there. Got kicked. If you all want, we could end out today just by listening to the song "Just" by Run the Jewels, and the chorus to that song is, what are all these slave masters posing on our dollars? This is a recent, you could call it marked up or altered, digitally altered version of the 1818 oil painting of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Every person whose face is marked with a red dot was a slave owner. I want you to let that settle in. If we go down, they verified the truth of the claim PolitiFact has. So 34, the people in this picture, were slaveholders. Josiah Bartlett, Charles Carroll, Samuel Chase, Abraham Clark, George Clinton, John Dickinson, William Floyd, Benjamin Franklin, John Hancock, Benjamin Harrison, Joseph Hughes, Thomas Hare Jr., William Hooper, Stephen Hopkins, Francis Hopkinson, Thomas Jefferson, Richard Henry Lee, as well as Francis Lewis, Philip Livingston, Robert Livingston, Thomas Lynch, Arthur Middleton, Lewis Morris, Robert Morris, William Paca, George Read, Benjamin Rush, Edward Rutledge, Richard Stockton, William Whipple, Thomas Willing, John Witherspoon, Oliver Wolcott, and George Wythe. The only 13 who did not own slaves were John Adams, Samuel Adams, George Clymer, William Ellery, Elridge Gerry, Samuel Huntington, Thomas McKean, Robert Treat Payne, Roger Sherman, Charles Thomas, George Walton, William Williams, and James Wilson. Which I think, really drives the point home when folks talk about the founding fathers being wealthy gentlemen, right? Wealthy elites who were primarily slaveholders. This kind of shows us that, in fact, yes, the majority of them were.
Actually, yeah. At some point, I want to tell a story about rags to riches and Benjamin Franklin.
Is it a extended story type of thing?
It's like my story I just told about Sri Lanka. So gotcha. I don't want to drop it with, yeah.
Okay.
Time's right.
So I think I'll let you all vote. Would you prefer to dismiss now, or should we end out on that last song?
Oh, hold on, I got somebody.
Oh, at the door. Raise your hand if you want to listen to one more song before we close out today. Give me an emoji if your camera is off. Okay, well, looks like they are not interested. So if we get time later in the quarter and we feel like you're all in a good spot with your projects, maybe we can loop back and listen to another one of those together. Like Graham, while you were gone, they, by virtue of not voting when I asked, who's interested in sticking around for one more song, I think we have a unanimous, everybody wants us to end more on time today.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so we will both see you at the homework session tomorrow. And for those of you who are still working on work for me, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Karina and Veronica, I think I told you already that I received your second drafts, and while I have more things that, in a longer class could be developed, I know Karina already submitted it to the second draft page, but Veronica, you should feel free to do that as well. And Christina, keep your eyes out on your inbox in the next hour or two from me, okay?
Yeah, and I don't know if I can get Xavier and Quinn to just give me, a couple seconds just to go pop outside and make sure we got the plants that we need. I'm just gonna, before we go, I'm gonna just do a quick share screen because I think it's good for you guys to see this of what this is coming together, how I'm working on it. So this is the view of what it would look like on your phone that I built, how we've got, tree species. So this is how we're going to navigate through it. You can see here's all the ones we found. So you would go and check, we got an apple, and then you would go through and say how many times you saw it. So maybe we saw 5 apple trees. So this is where we're at. So for Quinn and Xavier, I just want to make sure that these lists are the same, or not the same, but have information that that might be at their house. So that's all from the screen share.
Okay, awesome. So Graham, I just gave you host abilities.
Okay.
So the session should remain open when I log out, and that way you and Xavier and Quinn can take care of the plant aspect of the survey.
Cool.
that's missing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and anybody else, if I think everybody else was there. I just remember, no, Victoria, that's right, you weren't either. Would you mind hanging on the line with me and walking outside? Okay, great, thank you. I thought that might have been the case, but I didn't want to, didn't want to point any fingers here, so thank you.
And Chrissy asked what the app is called.
Oh, the app is Survey 123. So the one, remember when you downloaded that on your phone? That now app on your phone, which we're also going to be able to use on our Chromebooks. That is what you'll use to get to this. Once we're finished building it, I will share it with you, and then you'll download it, and then it'll be slick. It'll be very cool. So yeah, don't worry about the app yet. I just wanted to show you that to show you what I've been working on behind the scenes today.
Awesome. Okay, I will see most of you tomorrow, and best of luck on the plants.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Do you guys have financial literacy?